Your marriage didn't happen in one day. You built it together with God. With excitement, time invested, and anticipation, you vowed to make it last and stick it out no matter what. Marriage struggles don't happen in a day. The busyness, miscommunication, the crisis. Through hurt, disappointment, sickness, and pain, you made a vow to remain steadfast and faithful no matter what. This is revival, a restoration of life, a renewing of your love, a reawakening of your passion and commitment. Join us March 19th and 20th for the Victorious Marriage Summit, a 2-part virtual experience. It's time for our marriages to be revived.
The kingdom.
Hey, OCBF Church, it's Anthony Evans, and I am smiling now and on the verge of laughing a little bit because this week we've been trying to make sure, we, meaning my parents' 4 kids, the 4 of us have been trying to make sure our dad's healthy, that he's safe, and all he's talked about, the first thing he said to us on Monday was like, we have to make sure that service is great this weekend, and I want to preach. So we figured out a way to have him preach. So we're going to worship together today. We're going to hear a great word, and we're going to commune together like we normally do. And if you are a visitor, we want to know that you are here with us, all right? So in the comments, let us know that you're a visitor, OCBF Church family. Let's do what we do so well, making visitors feel like they are a part of our family, and let's worship together right now.
Make way through the water, walk me through the fire, do what you are famous for, what you are famous for, shut the mouths of liars, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for, say, make way through the water, walk me through the fire. Shut the mouths of liars, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are famous for. God of exceedingly, God of abundantly, more than we ask or think, Lord, you will never fail. Your name is powerful, your word unstoppable. All things are possible in you. Come on, say, God of exceedingly, God of abundantly, more than we ask or think. Lord, you will never fail. Your name is powerful, your word unstoppable. All things are possible in you. Say, make way through the water, walk me through the fire, do what you are famous for, what you are famous for, shut the mouths of lions, bring dry bones to life, and do what you are famous for, what you are, sing it again, say, make way through the water, walk me through
we beg of you today to do what you are famous for, to show us yourself, deliver us in this whole moment, all the things that we are facing. We ask with humbled hearts that you would meet us here today. And move in our lives, Jesus. We ask that you would move in our hearts and our lives. For every soul that's watching, that's hurting, that needs to hear a specific word from you, I pray that you will do that today. That you will do that today. We love you with all that we are. In your name we pray. Amen. Now we're gonna sing this older song because I want you to sing it with me, all right? I want you to sing it loud from wherever you are, like you believe it with all that you have, all right? Our God is greater, our God is stronger. Let's sing this chorus together. Here we go, say, our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God. Let's sing that verse. Water turned into wine. Open the eyes. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. None like you. Into the darkness you shine. Come on, say it. Into the darkness you shine. And out of these ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? If our God is for us, then who can stand against us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand? One more time, say, and if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? If our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? Stand against. What could stand against? Come on, sing that chorus with me. Sing it out, say, our God is greater, our God, he's stronger, and God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, he's awesome in power. Our God, our God. Let me hear their voices. Come on, say it. Our God is greater, and our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. One more time, come on, say it. Our God is healer, awesome in power. You are higher than any other. Our God is healer, he's awesome in power. Our God, our God. Oh. He's an awesome God. He is stronger. He's a healer, and if he's for us, then nothing can be against us. That is the God that we serve. You know, this week as we've been going through storms, literal storms, and storms in our individual lives, I'm sure, our family, you know, we're huddling together because we're just still, stuff is going on. You know, a lot of us in the storm, you start to resituate things. And that's what's happened this week. There's a storm that happened and we had to resituate whatever that is in your life, whether it's dripping faucets or covering things or making sure animals are inside. Like everything changes when there's a storm. But what happened this week is a storm came and then the power shut off, which put us in a whole other place of having to be resourceful. And it's not like the power wasn't there. It just wasn't right there in our face in those moments. So we had to get extra resourceful. I believe that there are moments in our lives when storms come. Obviously, we all know that. Where storms come, and there are moments where it feels like the power is out, like God's power is not operating in your life or in my life. I know that I felt that way. And in those moments, this week has made me realize that, man, when you feel like God's power is not operating in your life, it isn't that it's not there. This could be a moment where he wants you to be more resourceful and utilize things. There were things I was utilizing that I didn't even realize I had because there was never a moment that called for it. And in our lives, when we hit those storm moments, when it feels like the power goes out, that is a moment for you to be resourceful and take advantage of all the things that you have access to that you probably weren't using. So my encouragement to you today is to not resent these moments, not resent the storms literally or the figurative ones that we have in our lives. Right now, wherever you are at home, let's just take a moment and pray together before we continue in worship. I just want us to, whether it's your circumstance, actually, I want you to choose somebody in your life, whoever that may be, and just take a moment and quiet your heart and pray over somebody else's life. It could be a member of the church. It could be a member of your family. It could be somebody who you are at odds with and you just want to pray a blessing over their life. Let's do that to connect us, even though we're not in the room this week or not near each other physically. Let's pray over each other so we can be near each other spiritually. God, we ask right now that you would meet us here. I pray for my family. I pray for my father. Bring us closer to you, Lord God.
Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars and I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Come on, say. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art. Thou art. When Christ, when he comes with shouts of acclamation and takes me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I will bow in humble adoration, and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. Oh, how great thou art. How great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art. How great thou art. How great thou art. How great thou
Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited to be coming to you, even though I'm doing it from my den. My kids have come over, set everything up, moved chairs around, put the fireplace on so that we can still have worship, because God is still worthy to be worshiped, even during a winter storm, whether it's a personal storm or a collective storm, okay? And so I'm excited to come to you today. They've been taking care of me as I've been recovering from my little medical challenge, and I'm still recovering, but I still wanted worship to go on. So Anthony came over and fixed me up, and my grandson-in-law and granddaughter came over and put up all these cameras. So we're looking like we got a little studio up in here, but we just wanted to keep ministry going to the degree we can. And even though we got all these inconveniences, because God is still on the throne, and because we're called to trust Him not only when everything is sunshiny, but even when it's snowy and icy, okay? So that is exactly what we're going to do, and we're going to have as much of worship as we can today, and give God the glory that He deserves. Okay, the last 2 weeks we had to suspend worship due to the weather, in church worship, but we're gonna pick that up again next weekend. So all the members who got canceled out, you go back online, and as the slots are available, because we still have to have safety and responsibility, you can fill those in the weeks that follow. So we're gonna look forward to being in person next week, because we're still gonna worship God in a responsible way. Okay, so we're going to do that. And those who are in the Metroplex and you're looking for a church home that loves God, loves people, and wants to make a difference in the world, well, that's what our ministry is designed to do. So you can go online to ocbfchurch.org/membership, and you can find out how you can go on our online membership process about membership at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. We'd love to have you find out more about us, and we'd like to find out a lot more about you. Well, you know, during this time, it's a time of great calamity. One calamity on top of another, you know, personal challenges, and then there's this collective challenge. People without heat and without water, people needing food without convenience. I mean, it's a difficult, challenging situation. But you don't run from God, you run to Him. And that's why we're continuing worshiping even in this situation to the best of our ability, because we need more of God, not less of Him. And that's why we want to keep bringing God's word and God's truth before you. And talking about God's truth, this is the time to go into the word. Man does not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. So you run to that word. You spend time in the scriptures, the verses we go over, the verses in the study guide, your own reading through the Psalms. Just some time each day with the Lord, because you need Him now more than ever. All of us do, individually, as families, and collectively. So let's pursue that. And then your giving is allowing us to keep ministry. Your faithful tithes and offerings, Thanksgiving offerings, is allowed us to keep serving the Lord in a tangible way. And so would you be faithful through one of the means that you see there listed of you honoring the Lord? The Bible calls it honor, to give to God first fruits, not what's left over, but the first at the top. So honor the Lord with your tithe, and those who belong to another church, please support your ministry. And then if this ministry is helping you, then you can give an offering. But let's make sure we're being faithful, because people need the church now. They don't know it, but they do. And we want to make sure that our church and that your church is meeting that need as best we can. Well, let's go to prayer. Let's ask God to intervene in this situation and intervene in our lives and grow us through this challenge. Father, we need you. We want you. We desire you. We can't make it without you. And so, Father, I bring before you a hurting city, a hurting state, and a hurting country, because we're hurting in a lot of different ways. Would you take us, in spite of the physical challenges, in spite of the health challenges, in spite of the meteorological challenges, would you draw us near to you so that we discover more of God in the circumstances in which we find ourselves? Lord, we pray for the hurting. May we not just pray for them, but minister to them. And we'll give you the glory in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, let's continue in worship as Anthony leads us to the throne of grace in song.
I believe you're my healer. I believe that you are all I need. Oh, I believe that you're my portion, and I believe you're more than enough for me. Jesus, you're all I need. We're gonna sing that chorus again. Come on, sing it with me. Sing it. I believe you're my healer, and I believe that you are all I need. I believe that you're my portion, and I believe you're more than enough for me. Jesus, you're all I need. Sing this bridge with me. Nothing is impossible for you. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible for you. You hold my world in your hands. Come on, say it. Nothing is impossible for you. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible for you. You hold my world in your hands. I believe, say it. I believe that you're my healer. I believe you are all I need. If he's all you need, help me sing. I believe you're my portion, and I believe you're more than enough for me. Jesus, you're all I need. Watch what he will do. Watch what he will do. conquered the grave, then there's nothing too great. Watch what he will do. Watch what he will do. Say, watch what he will do. Watch what he will do. If he conquered the grave, then there's nothing too great. Watch what he will do. Watch what he'll do. Oh, get ready for your miracle. Get ready for your joy. Get ready for revival, 'cause it's coming. It's coming. You better get ready for your miracle. Get ready for your joy. You better get ready for revival, 'cause it's coming. It's coming. One more time. Watch what he will do. Watch what he will do. If he conquered the grave, then there's nothing too great. Watch what he will do. Oh, watch what he will do.
Many of us are familiar with disclaimer clauses in insurance policies that say act of God. The insurance company does not want to be held liable for something that is totally outside of their control. And so they defer to it as an act of God so that you don't blame them. Well, there's something to this, because what you and I have been experiencing in our individual lives, in our families, and in our culture, yeah, it's an act of God. To not see the divine connection to what we've been going through, one pandemic after another, a virus we're still fighting, divisiveness among races and among politicians, the economics of so many families, and then this winter storm that has paralyzed a lot of people, not only in my state, but of Texas, but beyond. Please do not miss God in this. Now, I know that may sound a little weird, but not according to Scripture. Let me talk a little bit about the most recent scenario that I'm facing and that the whole nation knows about, and that's this winter storm. Did you know that paralyzing weather is not an impersonal act by some foreign entity called Mother Nature, but that it is a determinative act allowed by Father God? I go to the book of Job, a book that emphasizes the sovereignty of God over every aspect of life, God's rule of all of his creation. And I'm captured by the first 13 verses. I'm going to take a moment to read these verses to you because I want you to catch how God is involved with the weather, because that's kind of what's got, among other things, everybody's so concerned today. But I'm not sure that we are making the connection to God and a winter storm. Listen to what Job 37 says, the first 13 verses. At this also my heart trembles and leaps from its place. Listen closely to the thunder of his voice and the rumbling that goes out of his mouth. Under the whole heavens he lets it loose, and his lightning to the ends of the earth. After it a voice roars. He thunders with his majestic voice, and he does not restrain the lightnings when his voice is heard. God thunders with his voice wondrously, doing great things which we cannot comprehend. For to the snow, he says, fall on the earth, and to the downpour and the rain be strong. He seals the hand of every man, that all men may know his work. Then the beast goes into its lair and remains in its den. Out of the south comes the storm, and out of the north the cold. From the breath of God ice is made, and the expanse of the waters is frozen. And with moisture he loads the thick clouds. He dispenses the cloud of his lightning. It changes direction, turning around by his guidance, that it may do whatever he commands it on the face of the inhabited earth. Did you hear that? God says, I'm responsible for the lightning, the thunder, the rain, the snow, the ice. I'm responsible for it freezing. One minute we see snow come down and we say, oh, it's beautiful, let's take the kids out to play. Oh, the next minute pipes are bursting and power is off, and we're trying to figure out, the saying, what's going on? Well, just from that passage, many more in Scripture, weather is not an impersonal force. It is directly related to what God either causes or God allows. So in this winter storm and any other storms and pandemics we face, if we miss God, we're going to settle for the storm. If we miss God, we're going to just settle for the impersonal activity we think is happening around us apart from a personal God. That's why I want to read one other verse in this passage. Verse 13. He says, whether for correction or for his world or for loving kindness, he causes it to happen. Let me read that again. Whether for correction, he's trying to fix something. For his world, he's trying to benefit something. Or for loving kindness, he wants to demonstrate his mercy. He causes it to happen. So what do we learn right there? There is a purpose in the storm. Yep, there is a purpose in the storm. As I've gone through my personal storm of health, as I've gone through my personal storms of life, as we go through our personal storms of pandemic, as we go through the snow and the ice and the inconveniences, he says he causes it to happen so that his purpose can be made manifest. So what's the question we should ask? Yes, we should ask how long it's going to last. I know we want to get it over with. I do too. I want to feel better. I want to do better. I want to, I want it over. I want it to end. I want, we had pipes break in all my kids' houses. Yeah, we want to get those fixed. Yes, we want to make sure there's enough water and enough food. All of those are real life realities. But what I don't want us to miss is why he caused it to happen. Because if we miss that, then we're inviting another storm. Because God does this to bring attention to himself, to correct us, to help us, or to show mercy to us. Job 37 verse 13 says. So there is a reason. How much time are you and I spending looking for the spiritual reason to our meteorological challenges, troubles, disasters, and inconveniences? Now, I'm not talking about just throwing up a prayer to get it over with. I'm talking about pursuing a person so that he can guide us into how he wants us to respond to him in the midst of the challenges that we are facing, which are many. Whenever you have pandemics stacked on top of each other, like they are right now, this is not luck, chance, happenstance, or fate. No, this is sovereign purpose. And until we begin asking the sovereignty question, what is God doing? What is he telling me personally? What changes must I make spiritually in my life? What changes must the church take on to be the kind of church he wants it to be and not merely a weekly religious gathering? What impact does he want to make in the culture that has abandoned him? We learn in Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 1 through 10, one of the reasons he sends bad weather is to wake us up to our idolatry. Yep. Jeremiah 10, 1 to 10, he said, you've been worshiping idols, and these idols you're worshiping, you've used to replace me, so let me send some bad weather to show you your idols don't control the weather. So God is attacking our idolatry of success, our idolatry of materialism, our idolatry of independence, our idolatry of religion. Whatever you use to replace the one true God of the Bible is an idol. And sometimes he has to bring a little weather up in here to say, no, God is in control here. And I want your undivided attention. So just as we battle with health issues and are drawn to God in a new way, in a deeper way, as I read the scriptures every day, the 3 chapters I'm reading, and then I meditate on these 3 chapters in a deeper way, not tied to the sermon, because of how I've been battling my health challenge, it draws you to God more. So the question is, are we going to respond and draw near to him and let him draw near to us? Because he's using weather and all the other stuff to call our attention to heaven. Don't miss heaven because of what's happening on earth. Allow what's happening on earth to draw you more tightly to heaven, to draw you to God's presence, God's word, God's priorities. And when you're drawn there, then that means we're learning the lessons. And he can turn chaos into comfort. He can take a mess and, he can turn it into a miracle. In fact, he loves to do it. That's why Job 37:13 says, he'll do it for correction, but then he'll show loving kindness. Because he wants the correction, but he wants the correction to lead to seeing what his mercy is when he melts the snow and the ice, and when he brings calm and comfort to us because we have responded to him. I've talked about this passage quite a bit, but it seems fit to talk about it now, particularly in light of this new pandemic we're facing, and that is Hebrews chapter 12. It says in verse 25, see to it that you do not refuse him who is speaking. For if those did not escape when they refused him who was warning them on earth, much more will we escape who turn from him who warns us from heaven. And his voice shook the earth then, but now he has promised, saying, yet once more I will shake not only the earth, but also the heaven. And this expression, yet once more, denotes the removing of things which can be shaken, as of created things, so that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. When I was at my grandmother's house growing up as a boy in Baltimore, and I go over to her home on the weekends, and I'd be watching Mighty Mouse or Popeye the Sailor Man, and then it would start thunderstorming in the middle of the program, and it would cut off the TV or disturb the sound or just make a lot of ruckus. My grandmother would tell me, boy, turn the TV off. I say, but Grandma, I'm watching my show. She said, boy, did you hear me? turn the TV off. I would question her. I'd say, why, Grandma? Grandma would say, because God is talking. Some of you had grandmothers like that. What Grandma was saying is because things are being disturbed up there, God wants me to hear something down here. Because the atmosphere was being shaken, God wanted me to pay attention to something. Grandma was on target because that's exactly what Hebrews 12 verses 25 to 27 is saying. When God disturbs the natural order of things, he calls it being shaken. When he disturbs how the normalcy of things. This is not normal, folks. It's not normal to have this pandemic on top of another pandemic, and before one pandemic ends, you get variances of that pandemic, and then you get new pandemics that come on top. That's not normal. And when it's not normal, there is a shaking. When there is a shaking, God says, do not ignore what he is saying. So God is speaking. He speaks through his word, but then he reiterates it through circumstances. And the circumstances are disturbing the natural order of things. Now, what is he saying? That's the question, isn't it? What is he doing? Well, he tells you, because he says in verse 27, yet once more denotes the removing of those things which can be shaken, as of created things, so that the things which cannot be shaken may remain. You know what God is doing right now? He's trying to tell you and me the spiritual is more important than the physical. He's shaking our physical world to draw attention to a greater spiritual reality. He's trying to get us to prioritize the spiritual over the physical. If you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000,000 times. Everything visible and physical is always preceded by that which is invisible and spiritual. So that if you want to properly address the visible physical, you must identify and properly address the spiritual and invisible that is the cause. Or to put it another way, if all you see is what you see, you do not see all there is to be seen. God is calling spiritual attention by shaking the stuff we hold on to. We hold on to our heat. We hold on to our food. We hold on to our water. Those are physical things in the physical world we hold on to. That is, until power lines get frozen, until windmills can't turn, until pipes start to break. Oh, God is saying, wait a minute, the stuff you hold on to, you can't cast your total lot in that, because a little breathing from my nostrils can shut it down. I am not getting enough spiritual attention. I am not getting enough spiritual priority. I am not getting enough spiritual focus, so I'm going to remove the things which can be shaken, that is, of created things, stuff that men can deal with, so that I reveal the things that cannot be shaken, that is, the spiritual things which are to be the priority things. I want you to recognize your idols and get rid of them. I want you to recognize your independence. I want you to recognize your departure from me. I love the way Isaiah 45:7 says, from God comes well-being and calamity. He'll use whatever he has to use to get things straight. Lamentation chapter 3, verse 31 to 32. Yeah, he causes grief, but he will give compassion. So yeah, God will. There's a misnomer that God doesn't allow negative things. No. Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, first 11 verses, God let me go through some stuff and I didn't know whether I was going to make it. But he did it so that I could get a bigger view of him. So yes, God did allow this freezing situation. God did allow COVID. God did, because it couldn't happen if God didn't allow it, because then God wouldn't be sovereign. But he allowed it for a spiritual purpose. He didn't just allow it to be mean. He needs to force our attention to something deeper about life and about meaning and about priorities and about purpose. So he shakes the things that can be shaken so that he can bring attention to the things that cannot be shaken. That is, the spiritual things. And that's why the key verse here is verse 28. He says, therefore, in light of God shaking up the system, he's shaking up stuff from the outhouse to the White House. He's shaking up stuff from my house to the church house. He's shaking up stuff from your house to your neighbor's house. And guess what? He's shaking it up on a worldwide level. It's something, some pandemic has hit the whole world. So God is making the point that nobody in the world is exempt from him. Nobody, nowhere, no how. Maybe to different degrees, but nobody can escape God serving notice that he wants our undivided attention. And so verse 28 says, therefore, in light of the shaking, since we have received a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us show gratitude by which we offer to God an acceptable service with reverence and awe, for our God is a consuming fire. You know, in Texas at least, the weather folks are getting a lot of attention, you know. I mean, folks are tuning into the Weather Channel. They're tuning into weather newscasts. The weather, folks not missing no weather reports because we've been affected by the weather. We've been affected by events outside of our control called acts of God. Well, it's time to tune into the Weather Channel from heaven. God is saying, tune into my channel. Since you have received an unshakable kingdom. Ah, here it is. You know I'm all about the kingdom. The kingdom is the rule of God. The kingdom is God ruling in history. And he says, if you belong to me, if you are a Christian, you belong to an unshakable kingdom. What do we mean by that? A kingdom that is not limited to the physical created world in which your five senses exist. Did you just hear me? Up in here, up in here, up in here. That this world that's breaking down all around us need not have the last say-so in your life and in your circumstance. It doesn't change the facts that a pipe broke. It doesn't change the fact that you've got a diagnosis. It doesn't change the fact that the heat is off, okay? It doesn't change the fact that you got some challenges to overcome. But it does change how you approach it because you're not dependent upon that alone, the physical world system, as your hope and help, because you belong to an unshakable kingdom. In other words, what has disturbed us down here has not disturbed heaven up there. And if you will give more attention to heaven than you give to history, you'll see how unshakable heaven is, even though you're all messed up right now in history. My world has been rocked, your world has been rocked, but heaven not moving. So you better be, I better be, we better be more heavenly minded so we can be of some earthly good. Because if you're only earthly minded, you're going to be messed up like everybody on earth is. So what he's done is he's created a separation. You know, when a woman is in labor, that's because a separation is in process. That baby is trying to say, up out of here right now. I want up out of here. But that separation is a painful situation. That separation is going to lead to some difficulty because that separation says, in order for me to get the blessing, I have to endure the separation. Well, in order for you to get to the unshakable kingdom, you're going to have to endure the separation that God is making from the physical to the spiritual. And if you still want to hold on to that baby that's trying to get out of you, then you're going to just live with pain because you're not allowing the separation that God created to take place. If you're not running to God more, talking to God more, in his word more, in worship more, in spiritual ministry more, then that means you don't get the message. So we can just wait for the next storm. But if you will allow this to draw you nearer to him, because you know that weather and circumstances are not impersonal forces, but they are heaven's mechanism for having a conversation with earth. He says, since we have received, Christians, an unshakable kingdom, what's happening down here is not the last word, so you better spend more time checking about what's going on up there. Since we have an unshakable kingdom, he said, let us show gratitude. So you know right now what you ought to be doing? Getting your praise on. Oh yeah, you should. Lord, I'm not praising you for my circumstances. I'm praising you that these circumstances don't have my last word. I'm not praising you for my inconvenience. I'm praising you that my inconvenience don't have the last word. I'm not praising you for COVID. I'm praising you that COVID doesn't have the last word. Lord, I'm not praising you for cold. I'm praising you for cure. I'm praising you that you have the last word because I belong to a kingdom that's not connected or limited to the kingdom that I find myself living in with my four senses. And then you know what he says? He says, let's show gratitude and let's do service. Who have you served? If you have heat, how have you helped somebody else be warm? If you have water, how have you helped somebody else to get a drink? If you have a need met, how have you met that need for someone else in your family, or particularly in the family of faith, the family of God? How have you reached out to a neighbor? Members of Oak Cliff, have you used your act of kindness cards to show kindness because God has not let you go through what others have gone through? He says, since you have an unshakable kingdom, you got a message. You got good news. You can do some evangelism right now. You can share the good news of Jesus Christ to somebody, because some folk ready to be saved right now because they've been awakened to God's move in history, and they want to hear from God. They want to hear from heaven, which means they need to hear from you. It said, let them see your service in verse 21. And he says, and do it with reverence and awe, with worship. So that's why we still broadcasting it from my house. Yep, from my den, because I decided whatever strength I have, God still deserves the worship. God deserves whatever strength I can muster up to give him the praise I can do. Why? Because I want the unshakable kingdom. I don't want to be shook up and toe up from the flow up. Now I want to be wise. I want to be safe. I want to be responsible, but I don't want to back away from the unshakable kingdom because I need that kingdom. I want that kingdom. I'm passionate about that kingdom. I live for that kingdom. And I want our church and your church and the kingdom of God to live for that kingdom. So don't give up. Don't throw in the towel, because our God is a consuming fire. I love that phrase. That's where they put the animal on the altar. It consumed the animal. The altar was full of fire. The altar was full of fire. And it burned the animal up. That was bad news for the animal, because the animal got consumed. It was an animal pandemic. That fire burned up that animal. Oh, but after the bad news came the good news. Because after the animal was burned up, sins were forgiven. It was God's way of bringing spiritual healing to the people by consuming the animal. So God is consuming our comfort. He's consuming our inconvenience. He's consuming our security. He's consuming our safety. He's consuming our dependency. He's consuming our idolatry. But not because he's trying to be mean. He's just trying to burn up all the stuff that will get in the way of us pursuing a relationship with him. So let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. All the stuff that God is trying to separate out of our lives, let it go on and roast up and toast up. But right now, you let that as it's consumed draw you near to God so that he can bring you the blessing of forgiveness, the blessing of mercy, the blessing of empowerment, the blessing of loving kindness, and the blessing of grace. Why? Because God wants to demonstrate to you that he will allow negative circumstances, including a winter storm and multiple pandemics, because he loves us enough to get our attention, because he wants to show us what it's like when we're functioning in his unshakable kingdom. With that in mind, we want to commune with him right now. He says, do it with reverence and awe. And what greater way to show reverence than in worship? Than giving him the praise due his name. To take your cup and bread or whatever you're using for communion and to commune, that is, to communicate, to worship him. Even if it's a little chilly right now, worship him. Even if the pipes broke in your house and you're mopping up water, yet worship him. Even if it's a tense time, yet worship him. Yes, while you do the things you need to do, we must be responsible. Yep, while we worship. While we worship. In the battles of Scripture, they would be battling and worshiping at the same time. So we're going to battle. We're going to fight against the forces that are bringing all this stuff we're facing. But guess what else we're going to do? Well, yeah, we're going to get our praise on. I'm going to worship him here in the living room. You worship him in your room. And we're going to worship him in every room because he's worthy to be worshiped. After all, we need his son to melt the snow, right? We need his power to address the situation. I need him for my life. You need him for your life. We need him for our lives. And that's why he died, to make God Almighty available to his people who are part of the unshakable kingdom. Father, thank you for your body broken for us. And thank you for the unshakable kingdom that you've made us a part of. We give you the glory as we eat together now in Jesus' name. The cup is his blood shed. When you put the body and blood together, that's the life. His life imparted to our life because he is the king of that unshakable kingdom. And we follow him. Let's drink together. Father, be glorified as we fight through the pandemics, including the weather, and as we trust you to show your loving kindness after you've made your correction, so that we can become spiritual people who prioritize your truth based on your word for your glory, which will result in our good. In Jesus' name, amen.
What an amazing word from our dad. I'm still kind of a little bit shocked. I don't even know how to feel about the fact that he just preached, knowing what he's been going through this week, that he made sure he could study and bring a word. Whenever you get the opportunity, whenever you see him when we're back in the room, just make sure he knows that he's appreciated. I know that he knows that, but man, watching him firsthand as one of his kids dedicate his life to this, I don't even have the words. But thank you for being a part of our extended family. Thank you for joining us here at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. And we cannot wait to see you next week, same place, same time, and stay tuned for updates on how we're going to continue working our way back into the room. See you soon.